Madness at the Darkmoon Faire is here, and that means it's time to review the Druid cards. Starting up, we have Faire Arborist. This is a 3-mana 2/2 that has choose one, draw a card, or summon a 2/2 Treant, and if you corrupt it, it will do both. I think this card is okay, basically. I think one way to look at it is that Novice Engineer is a 2-mana 1/1 that draws a card. For 1 extra mana, you get a +1/+1 and the flexibility to be a 3-mana 4/4 basically. However, I don't think it really fits into anything. I think it's okay, but oftentimes like a tempo deck doesn't really want to wait for the corrupt effect, and then a more kind of rampy, control-y type deck, like say the Guardian Animals Druid, they don't want this either. So it just doesn't really fit in anything. It's just kind of okay. So for that reason, 3 out of 5 in card quality and a 1 out of 5 in meta rating. I just don't think it's that good. Moving along, we have Moon Touched Amulet, another corrupt card. This one says give your hero +4 attack this turn, and if you corrupt it, you gain 6 armor. This card, I think, is actually pretty decent. On its own, 3 mana +4 attack is not that good at all. I think where I get interested in this card is the gaining 6 armor, as that's actually a decent amount of healing, and with the cards further down the road that double spells, you could gain +8 and 12 armor, which is a huge amount of healing, especially since it's armor, not health, which kind of has a cap. I feel like seeing this card, where we talked before about Demon Hunter struggling to corrupt cards, I think Druid probably has the easiest time out of any class corrupting cards. They have a lot of really expensive cards and cards that work to get them ramping up to bigger mana. So I think a lot of the time, if you're playing this on 3, it's to deal with a threat that's like super immediate and you don't feel that bad. And then most of the time you're playing this and this heals you and then you feel like fine. So it's like one of those cards that really fits, I think, the Druid plan of try to stay alive until you get your ramp cards going, and then your cards are more efficient and powerful, and you're just kind of playing big stuff. And I think that fits quite well here, and for that reason, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 in card quality and a 4 out of 5 in meta relevance. I think we will see this in a kind of big Druid archetype, or maybe, the existing Guardian Animals. It's just okay, Moving along, we have Umbral Owl. It's an interesting card. Anytime you have a card that could cost 0, you gotta look at it with kind of a careful eye. This is a 7-mana 4/4 that costs 1 less for each spell you've cast this game. Druid plays a lot of spells. They play Nature Studies, which discovers new spells. They're like a very spell-heavy class right now, and kind of always have been. So what would we need to discount it to get it to a place where we actually want to play it? Probably a 3-mana 4/4 rush would be okay. It'd be decent to run. Anything less is even better. And is it that hard to believe that Druid plays 4 spells like throughout the game at a pretty early time to be able to play this? I think it's very reasonable, especially since coin means half the time you're going to get an extra spell. So I think this is very, very realistically going to be discounted. And then you also have to think about the 10-mana spell that buffs everything in your hand, deck, and battlefield. All of a sudden you get a very cheap rush minion that costs very little and is buffed and has +4/+4. So I think we are going to see this. I think they are going to fit it in. It's pretty strong. It's reactive. It might cost 0. And for that, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 in card quality and a 4 out of 5 meta rating. Next up, we have Fizzy Elemental. This is a 9-mana 10/10 rush and taunt. Not really super impressed with this card. I think it is just, a little memey. It could work with the N'Zoth Menagerie stuff, as in that rezzing this is quite powerful. It's a taunt, it's defensive. I think if it didn't have taunt, it would be unbelievably bad. This card is amazing in Arena, by the way. I personally don't think it's going to work. It might be okay, because again, Druid has ramp, so you always got to look at bigger cards with a different lens with Druid. But I'm not really seeing it. Maybe there's some corrupt synergy there. I don't know. I think it's okay. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 in card quality and a 1 out of 5 meta rating. I don't think it makes the cut, but you never know. Moving along, we have Cinereon Ward. This is an 8-mana spell that gives you 8 armor and summons a random 8-cost minion. Again, I think the armor side of stuff is a bit important just because you can double the effect with a different card we're going to get onto later. And that makes this gain 16 armor and summon 2 8-cost minions, which I think is very, very decent. It also slots in nicely with the neutral taunt Strongman, in that if you have Strongman and you play this card, it makes it cost 0, which is kind of similar to a Nubisoth Defender. So then you'd be like summoning a taunt, healing for 8, and a random 8 cost minion, and maybe you're doubling that random 8 cost minion. I think the fact that it's paired with a catch-up mechanic and armor makes it more enticing to me, and the idea that you could play this on like a turn 6 or something similar where you've kind of ramped up makes me feel like this is a way for Druid to stabilize. Most 8 drops are pretty good, so even though you might look at this and think summoning a random 8 cost minion, I think the synergies that exist within Druid make this a lot stronger than you might realize. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 for overall card quality and a 4 out of 5 in meta rating. I think this is a piece of this kind of big Druid puzzle that we're going to see, and I think it will be good. Maybe tier 3, maybe tier 2, or even higher. Graybow. This is a 5 mana 4/6 taunt. Death Rattle, give a friendly minion Death Rattle, summon Graybow. It's okay. I don't think it's super amazing. It's kind of sticky. One thought I have is I really don't want Priest to steal this from me. It just really sucks. I think Druid is kind of, like a lot of decks right now are pretty refined. Druid has a decent amount of cards this expansion, like a lot of really strong cards. I don't think they really have the space for this. I don't think it fits in this kind of big Druid I'm thinking of. I don't think it really fits in kind of an aggro token style Druid deck either. So, you know, maybe a 3 out of 5 in overall card quality, and then a 2 out of 5 in meta rating. I think people might try it and go, there's better stuff that we could run. Moving along, this is not the next card, but I want to cover these cards first because they relate to Kiri, Chosen of the Loon. So first up, we have Lunar Eclipse. This is a 2 mana spell. Deal 3 damage to a minion. Your next spell this turn costs 2 less. This is very powerful. This is deal 3 damage to a minion, which, you know, is like Wrath, which we play a lot. And it's basically 0 mana deal 2 damage to a minion because you could immediately discount another spell. And Druid likes to play spells to kind of stabilize into big stuff. So I think it just fits really well with a lot of Druid's game plan. And I think it's a very, very strong card. And 3 damage is not bad at all. You know, you could use this to set up Malagos combos. There's just a lot of ways that this is really interesting. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5 in card quality. I think it's quite strong. And a 5 out of 5 in meta relevance. I think we're going to be seeing this in that big Druid package. It's going to be at least tier 2. It's very cool. The even more crazy card, though, is Solar Eclipse. This is the one I was kind of hinting at earlier. The next spell this turn casts twice. So this plays really great with Cinereon Ward. It plays really well with, like, so many things. You could play Lunar Eclipse into Solar Eclipse into the 10 mana buff everything in your deck hand a battlefield. Like there's ways to make your deck just kind of pop off. Like this plus Moontouch Amulet is plus 12 and 6 attack, which is like decent burst damage and like a lot of good healing, and that's a turn 5 play, assuming you've already corrupted it. So I think this is just an amazing card. It might even get nerfed, but if they nerf it, then it hurts the synergy of Lunar and Solar Eclipse. So I'm going to give this a 5 out of 5 and a 5 out of 5 in card quality. Meta rating and card quality, it's freaking amazing. It's a very, very powerful card. Anytime you can kind of double effects, it suddenly makes everything way more interesting. With that in mind, Kiri, Chosen of a Loon, is a 4 mana 2/2 that adds a Solar Eclipse and a Lunar Eclipse to your hand. If these weren't that good cards, this would not be that good. But because Solar Eclipse is so powerful, getting an extra one seems really worth it. Lunar Eclipse, also really worth it. You know, like these are cards that just are really strong. You know, like you want to have as many copies as you can, and this gives you more. So I think it fits into that deck. It's not as strong as the cards themselves. It's mostly just like an enabler. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5 in card quality and a 4 out of 5 in meta rating, just because it's a little bit weaker. It's only good because it's giving you these really good cards. But, you know, 4 mana, draw 2 cards, not bad. Finally, Guess the Weight. Speaking of drawing cards, this is a 2 mana draw card. Guess if your next card costs more or less to draw it. Again, I keep bringing up Novice Engineer, but it is an important kind of compare point where this is 2 mana draw 1. Novice Engineer is 2 mana draw 1 with a 1/1. But then a lot of the time, this is 2 mana draw 2, which is basically better Arcane Intellect. I think Trump said it would be around drawing on average 1.7 cards. I think you have a fair, like, you know, this is basically not a 50-50. It might seem like it at first glance, but you have enough information in your deck, especially if you're tracking your deck. Maybe you have a bunch of cards. Like say you draw a card, it costs 3, and you have 10 cards left, and most of them cost, you know, 4 or more. Then you're in a lot of situations, you're gonna go, okay, I'm very, very likely to draw a card that costs more, so I'm gonna guess that it's gonna be more, and then you get 2 cards. And card draw is very powerful. Especially in a class that doesn't have that much to do early on, and I think kind of comes back later. think this is very good. It's a very strong card. Not amazing. I'm going to give it a 3 to 5 in card quality. And I think at a 4 to 5 in meta rating. I think this will be in those same decks. Again, it's really tricky. Druid is kind of hard to pin down exactly what their sort of future deck is going to look like. Thoughts I have right now is like Malagos stuff, big Druid kind of with ramp and some of the stuff I said already. You know, they could continue with their sort of guardian animals stuff, although that got a lot weaker with the nerfs. Hard to say, but Druid got some excellent cards, like really, really, really powerful cards. Big winner of the set, although there are bigger winners in my opinion in Priest and Rogue. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this review. Next up we'll do Hunter, and if you like this review, please consider subscribing. It does help the channel so much. Bye for now.